Under a blazing prairie sun, imagine a lone rider guiding a herd of cattle across the open range. Few of us picture this figure as black, but over 150 years ago, that rider was all too often named Aaron, Bose, Bill, or Stagecoach Mary. These real individuals, not cinema's fabricated characters, shaped the Wild West. Despite filling nearly 20 to 25% of the trail crews from Texas northward in the 1860s to 1880s, black cowboys have largely been omitted from the storybooks and silver screen. Crafting an authentic picture of the frontier means recognizing that the iconic cowboy silhouette was just as likely to be black. Their skills in herding, roping, trailblazing, and even showmanship in rodeos formed the backbone of cattle culture. Yet versions of the West we see today often erase them, from slavery to saddle. In the decades leading up to the Civil War, enslaved black men in the South, especially Texas, were frequently tasked with cattle work, rounding up wild longhorns, taming horses, and finding paths through wilderness. Slave owners prized their horsemanship and reliability. After emancipation in 1865, these men now freed found unique agency in the untamed West, where cowboy life, despite persistent racism, offered a road to earning wages, honing craft, and claiming a modicum of respect. Most historians now estimate that black cowboys made up between 20 to 25% of those heading on major cattle drives northward during the post-war period. While precise numbers fluctuate, consensus holds that black cowboys were neither rare nor fringe participants. Their training often came from experience under Mexican vaqueros, Native American cattlemen, or former Confederate masters. But this new vocation provided an alternative to the harsh, discriminatory Reconstruction-era South, where land ownership and rights were fiercely denied. On the open trail, these men were judged by grit, skill, and horse sense, a fierce rebuttal to the era's color lines. True figures of the frontier. Cowboy work wasn't just anonymous labor, it was theater, trial, and triumph. Bose Ickard, born into slavery in Mississippi in 1843, became an indispensable member of the legendary Goodnight-loving trail. Beyond riding, he served as Charles Goodnight's tracker and trusted cash courier, carrying money for cattle sales across vast, remote expanses. His competence and calm under fire earned him a place in legend, immortalized in Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove. Working in rodeos and Wild West shows with star status was Bill Pickett, born in 1870 into a mixed African-American and Cherokee family in Texas. Pickett invented bulldogging, jumping from horseback onto a steer's neck and wrestling it down by crushing its windpipe with his teeth, a technique that electrified spectators. He performed in Buffalo Bill Cody's show, starred in the 1922 silent film The Bulldogger, and later became the first black inductee to the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. Closer to Montana's harsh winters was Mary Stagecoach Mary Fields, born in Tennessee in 1832, who charged routes through blizzards and outlaws to deliver mail. She carried a rifle, defended her lines, and never missed a delivery. Although not a cowboy in the traditional sense, Bass Reeves, once enslaved, later one of the first black deputy U.S. Marshals, chased bandits throughout Indian Territory, capturing thousands and forging a legend that echoes in Western lore. Their stories aren't folklore, they're history. These were individuals navigating the socially tumultuous frontier and carving reputations out of resilience, authenticity, and character. Trail life and racial complexity. The cattle drive was an egalitarian crucible. Men of different races rode, ate, slept, and fought together in harsh conditions. The terms cowhand and cowboy evolved within these multiracial crews, though white cowhands got far more narrative attention. Historian Kenneth Porter described typical outfits as having 7 or 8 white workers, plus 3 black and 1 to 2 Mexican hands, often indentured to the roughest jobs, breaking wild horses, guarding stock, or cooking under pressure. On the trail, color mattered less than courage, stamina, or horsemanship, but reaching towns meant facing entrenched Jim Crow norms and segregation. Black cowhands couldn't drink in most saloons, had to eat out back, and were rarely featured in white-run rodeos. They were often unwelcome in brothels, but free to gamble, another eccentric boundary of frontier mores. The drive's harsh unity faded with each town across which the cattle passed. Rodeo stardom and entertainment. As cattle drives declined in the 1880s, rodeos and Wild West shows grew in popularity. Pickett was not alone. Jesse Stahl, an African-American saddle bronc rider, competed across the country, but white-dominated rodeo circuits often denied entry or relegated black performers to back-of-the-line acts masked with racial caricatures. In defiance, black cowboys formed their own soul circuits. Organizations like the Southwestern Colored Cowboys Association united black competitors from rural Texas communities communities into the 1940s. A key turning point came in 1984 when Lou Vassin launched the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo to honor Pickett's legacy. The rodeo became a national celebration, touring major cities and bringing trail traditions and real black cowboy heritage to proud, packed arenas. Its success affirmed that the Cowboys' heritage belongs to all races, erasing history and cultural recovery. For generations, Hollywood and textbooks painted the cowboy myth in near-uniform white tones. As historian Larry Callies, director of Texas's Black Cowboy Museum, put it, black contributions were suppressed for nearly 2 centuries. Despite making up as much as a quarter of the West's population, their presence was overlooked at best, ridiculed at worst. But change is underway. Films like The Harder They Fall, 2021, dramatize real people like Nat Love and Stagecoach Mary. Documentaries such as Fire on the Hill, 2020, focus on urban cowboys carrying these traditions forward amid modern struggles. Cultural stars are joining the reclaiming too. Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter album, 2024, and Lil Nas X's Old Town Road harken back to an authentic black cowboy identity. Curators like Amanda Hunt, through museum exhibits in Harlem, have spotlighted this forgotten legacy and celebrated resilient voices who persisted in writing, performing, and publicly living black Western traditions, modern trailblazers, and community. Across America today, black cowboy and cowgirl culture thrives. Organizations like the Compton Cowboys, born from the Compton Junior Posse Youth Equestrian Program founded by Maisha Akbar, bring urban youth into horsemanship, pushing back against stereotypes and providing mentorship. Fire on the Hill, 2020, documented the post-fire rebuilding of the Compton Community Stable, an emblem of resilience and renewal. In Oakland, the Oakland Black Cowboy Association has held annual parades and festivals since 1975, honoring a legacy often erased. Trail rides persist in Texas, Louisiana, Carolina, all part of a living tradition that seeks to recognize black cowboys in cultural memory. In July 2025, Cynthia Valeri from Beaumont, Texas, became the first black female professional rodeo announcer and was inducted into the Black Cowboy Museum Hall of Fame. Beyond her arena presence, she organizes the Bill Pickett Trail Riders Festival and health awareness outreach events, forging a future where black cowboy heritage drives community wellness. Why it matters. Reinstating black cowboys into the broader narrative rewrites America's self-image. It enriches national identity with diversity and reveals stories of self-determination, talent, and courage. For young black riders in Compton or Beaumont, the sight of someone who looks like them aboard a horse is empowerment ingrained through generations. It dismantles stereotypes of both black communities and the Western mythos. By understanding that the West was built not by a single race, but by a tapestry of hands and hooves, including African Americans, we embrace a more accurate, enriching history. This is not nostalgia, it's dynamic culture, alive in museums, festivals, music, rodeos, and film, and its future rides in the voices of announcers like Cynthia Valeri and the children mentored by Maisha Akbar's equestrian legacy. And there you have it, the untold, unforgettable legacy of black cowboys who didn't just ride through history, they built it. If you learned something new today, if this made you rethink the Wild West, or if you're just here for the badass horse riding history, go ahead and smash that like and hit subscribe. Until next time, keep your boots dusty, your stories true, and your spirit wild.